TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Were you surprised when WWE started allowing the smaller workers to get over, like Shawn Michaels and Brett?
Yeah, really. You know, used to be those guys were big job guys.
Right.
They would have beat them down. The old WWF guys come in like that, they would just chopped them up. Because really, if you think about that, you think about this, in the law of nature, the bigger things win. Which line beats the other line? Because they're all basically the same. The bigger line. Is a tiger stronger, or would a tiger do in a line? If he was bigger than him, he would be. See, so that's something that everybody can relate to, fans. And so when you got these little bitty guys out there beating these big guys, it's like, come on now. Because you know, brother, in real life, probably wouldn't happen.
Right. Oh, without a doubt.
Probably in real life it wouldn't happen because, you know, even if you get karate guys, real good karate guys, they'll tell you, senseis and stuff, they said, look guys, I'm teaching you this, but this don't work against bigger, stronger people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's why you get a big old tough kid, say some kid that's a big old football kid or something, you try to say it ain't gonna work, you know, because they're just, you know, it's just bigger. But I understand you got a thing called demographics that you try to adhere to. They want to make sure that everybody's got something they can be entertained by, and for all levels of the family, from the old people to the young people, you know. So, which, you know, young people a lot of times are little kids. If they got a little Rey Mysterio they can look up to, then so be it.
Who did you travel with on the road?
I had several guys that I would hang out with. I like George Animal Steel.
Right.
He was wonderful, and I liked, like I told you, Jimmy Brunzell was one of my good buddies. Jumping Jimmy Brunzell was a guy I like Jimmy Hart.
Right.
And from time to time, I would be with Tito Santana. Tito was great to do a trip with. Trying to think who else. Not too many more. Like I said, Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham, when they were there, they were wonderful too. So I would, I would ride with them, those guys if I could, try to set up right. If I find out what town we were going to be in, I'd say, listen, can I go with you guys? Yeah, you go. And we'd all just get the car and we split it up, and that was a beautiful time.
Now, you also worked a little bit with Mr. Fuji in the tuxedo matches.
Mr. Fuji, yes. Papa San.
Memories of those matches.
Lots of memories. Mr. Fuji was a great guy. Wonderful man to me. We always got along good, and he taught me a lot about stuff. He was a tremendous ribber too, but never to me. And if he ever ribbed me, the secret to that would have been never try to get him back, because if you ever try to get him back on a rib, he would just escalate. It would get worse, you know. And he would accelerate the rib to where it would be horrible.
With the dog food?
Oh yeah, dog food, dog bow wow teriyaki or whatever you want to call it. He would do all kinds of things like that. But yeah, I had the tuxedo matches with him, a lot of fun, and we went around the country and doing that and laughing and tearing those tuxedos off each other, and him standing out there in his heart-shaped underwear. I remember Fuji.
Now, as time went on, I believe in 1990 you worked a match with Earthquake, but it never aired on, I believe it was for TV, for Saturday Night's Main Event, maybe?
Maybe I did.
Yeah. Why was that? Just no time?
I had no idea. Big John Tenta. I like John Tenta a lot. He's another one gone.
And then you also worked, obviously, with the Godwins. You
were in Phineas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you like the managing gig?
I enjoyed it, yeah. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, yeah.
Now, was that after you started already working for Coliseum, or was that
before? I was still doing it while I was doing that.
Okay. Yeah. And how did you get that position in the office to start doing all the trade shows? It was just something that they needed you, and you had good business sense, or how did that come about?
No, when I started to get out of the business, you mean how did I get my Coliseum video job?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I had done stuff over the years, personal appearances for Coliseum Home Video, and I became kind of friendly with all the guys, Marty Applebaum, Arthur Morowitz, and Howard Farber there. The last two being the owners, especially Arthur Morowitz. And when I had a neck surgery in the early 90s, I knew it was going to pretty much finish me up. I didn't want to keep fooling with it. I said, once you start having the neck problems, so I said, I'm looking for something to do. I got on the phone and I called up to New York. And I spoke to them. I said, hey, I got something I want to pitch to you. I said, what would it be like if I came in and did sales work for your company? Hillbilly Jim, Coliseum Home Video, wrestling product. They said, oh, let me talk to Arthur. Next thing you know, I'm in. They made a big announcement, become a big deal. Here I am, a guy going in that's selling wrestling tapes to people, and I'm actually a part of what I'm selling. It had never been done before in the whole video business, and they thought it was great. And I got to go all over the country, and eventually I become the North American director of sales for Coliseum Home Video, and it was just a wonderful thing. And some wonderful relationships came out of that with Marty Applebaum and Arthur Marwitz and Howard Farber. They were lifelong friends. I still do stuff for Arthur Marwitz. I still do trade shows for him and his Champion Stamp Company and his the banknote company he's got. I still go out and do trade shows and conventions all the time. I was in Philly this summer for him, and down in Memphis as well. And we do the big world trade shows in Boston and L.A. and Pittsburgh, and so it's kind of like you jump off of one lily pad onto another, but it's all because of the wrestling business. So I don't want to get this confused with anybody, but it's all because I had the opportunity and I was blessed to get a shot, and luckily I took advantage of it.
Now you also work for Vince at times. You do a lot of the WrestleMania Access and all that, putting that together.
I did this. I think it was either 5 or 6 years that Fan Access tour.
Yeah.
John Sahegan called me up, pitched it to me about me doing it. We started it very small, just myself, a tour manager and his assistant, and a branded SUV, brother. Am I tearing this up here? No. And a branded SUV, and we were doing Walmarts, and we were doing like places like Buffalo Wild Wings and little places like that, and we work our way around the country heading towards to WrestleMania, which was in New York, and it got over. Every year it grew exponentially and got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Until finally we're spending about $1.5 million on it a year and then after 5 years, the last one I did was one where they did the WrestleMania down in the WrestleMania down in Florida, Orlando.
Right.
Yeah, that's when Ric Flair retired. That was the last one I did. I did it like 5 or 6 years in a row for him, and then I got a little hiatus. I hadn't done anything much for him since then, but.
You also came back. You did WWE in April. I think it was the Blast from the Past.
Yeah, that was right after we just got through finishing doing shooting that reality show. That's not going. We don't know when it's going to come out. If it's ever going to come.
Yeah,
out.
Howard Finkel was just telling me.
Called Legends. Called Legends House, and they were talking about that briefly then because I thought they were going to put it on the WWE network, which may or may not be working. I don't know. And since then, I think that they pitched it to several different other companies.
Now, when you went to the locker room, a lot of the younger guys, did they come up to you and pay their respects?
Oh, they're sweet as they can be.
Okay,
it's amazing. I mean, that's one thing that's very touching to me. How nice and mannerable these young kids are to us. It's just really, because I remember when I was coming up, the guys in there, it wasn't too good to the old guys because the old guys were mean to them when they broke in.
They wanted to protect your spot.
Yeah, they were mean guys. Yeah.
All right.
So.
All right. As far as the Hall of Fame, is that something you want to be put into it at some point?
Oh, that might be cool. If it is, it's not something that I think about all the time. I have a lot of people ask me about that, what my feelings are on that. It would be certainly a lovely gesture, and it'd be a real high spot in my career for me to say that. You just can't get you can't get no higher in the business to get put in that Hall of Fame. If it happened, it would be it'd be very welcome. But I don't really live on that because, like I told the guys. All the guys that were in that WWE Legends House, every one of them were in the Hall of Fame except me.
Right.
And they said, "You're not in the Hall of Fame?" I said, "No." They were pissed. Man, I said, "Brother, I've had a Hall of Fame life. If this happens, it happens. If it don't happen, it ain't for me to say. It ain't gonna stop me from having a good day,
What was the craziest thing you've ever witnessed on the road, as far as like maybe a fan doing anything to one of the boys, or just between the boys being on the road, and any funny stories, road stories?
Oh my Lord, it'd take you a while to really get into that and think about all that because there's been so many crazy, amazing things that would happen. Guys would, a lot of times I'd get up in the morning time and we'd go get something to eat or something before we head to the airport or whatever I was going to do, and I'd find out what happened the night before. What happened last night? Oh, so-and-so did this in the bar last night. Oh, did you hear what happened to so? No, what did they do? And it was always some kind of a new dilemma. Piper did this last night. Or so-and-so did this last night. Or this guy got in trouble. Oh, JYD, did you hear what happened? And every day was like a new soap opera. And it was like living in a continual soap opera, And and you get people to run up to you that you wouldn't. It would just drive you crazy. You wouldn't realize who'd be watching you. Like I did Farm Aid one time for Willie Nelson in Austin, Texas, in 1987, and the guy that was promoting it was a guy named Buddy Lee, and he said, "Jim," he said, "I want to take you over and introduce you to George Jones, who's a real famous country music singer. He's probably the most famous country music singer alive now. George Jones is." And we go up to George Jones and I put up my hand. I said, "George, I want to say hello to you." I said, "I'm Hillbilly Jim." And he says, "Oh, I know who you are." He says, "I watch you every week on TV." And I said, "I'll be damned." George Jones is watching me on TV. How about that? My mother wouldn't know what to say about that.
Right. At what point did you ever sit back and be like, wow, I made it?
First time I went to Madison Square Garden. And it was just something about that. I mean, even so more so than WrestleMania 3, because I'd already been in business a while then. But the first time I got to work in the Garden, because as a young guy growing up in the South down in Kentucky, you hear so much about Madison Square Garden, and you think about all the historic boxing matches. You think about all the basketball games that's been there, all the concerts that's been there, track and field, all the other events and things, and it's in the Big Apple. And then all of a sudden you're in the ring at Madison Square Garden. I'm like, woo, doggies, this is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So that's something that really stood out in my mind a lot. WrestleMania 3 was good for the career, but that first time in the Garden, that's hard to top that.
Speaking of WrestleManias, do you feel that WrestleMania has gone too far and lost sight of the wrestling aspect of the sport in favor of complex theatrics?
Some years it does. I think it goes up and down. Sometimes I think it's a bit much, and then they might go 1 or 2 years and be right back on the mark again. It just depends, But that just shows you they're just reaching for something, They're reaching to try to stretch out there and get that next thing out there. They're trying to do the new deal that's going to captivate everybody's imagination,
How would you compare the WWF today with the WWF as you knew it back in the early and mid-'80s?
Completely 100% different.
In what aspect?
It's just different. I mean, the locker rooms are different. The way they do the business is different. The way they do the TV is different. The way they do pay-per-views is different. It's just totally different. I mean, if somebody from my day came back, say like a Junkyard Dog came back from the dead and went in one of those dressing rooms, you wouldn't hardly recognize it. We talk about how much, me and Jimmy Hart talk about how much. I mean, I'm not saying it's worse. It might be better, but it's just different now. I mean, it's a whole different dichotomy of situations, and it's just. For me, it's just kind of weird to take a little something getting used to. I'm sure it'd be okay for these guys right now. If they had to go back to the way we did it, it'd be like going back in time to the barbarian times,
Any regrets?
Regrets. Wow. Yeah, I tell you what, I do. I was never one of those kind of guys that was a squeaky wheel. I never really complained. I think I could have done a lot better and went a little further in this business if I was one of those kind of guys that played that game a little more.
You weren't into politics?
I was never a whiner or a moaner. I just went on and did my stuff, and I never complained about payoffs, or I never was super ambitious about getting there, And then I think about that too. Sometimes I think, well, maybe it all worked out for the better, because thank God at least I'm still in pretty good health, and most everything works on me, and I'm still able to feel good. And then I see a lot of the guys, and they're just not that good, It's like life ain't been kind to them. And if you stay in that business too long, brother, you're going to be a bag of bones.
Right.
Period.
Now, was it your choice to pretty much get out of the ring early on, or was that the office?
My choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Looking back, what is your fondest memory in the business?
Fondest memory in the business, my Lord. That's pretty intense right there. I think my fondest memory of the whole business is, and I still am amazed at the people that care about this business and they remember. That just blows my mind. Like, I'm sitting here today talking to you, brother. I've been out of the business a lot longer than I was in it, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not a lifer. I mean, I think life is the kind of thing that you got to move on and do different stuff. If you're only known for one thing in your life, that might be good for people to say, oh, that this guy was the greatest musician, the greatest player. But if you're the person, that's all you do, you've led a shallow life. Life is about experiencing lots of things. I've been able to get out and do a whole lot of other things, but the memories of the wrestling business, I would never say anything bad about. And my time in the wrestling business, I ain't got no complaining, bitching, or moaning to do about, because nobody made me do it. I did it because I wanted to. I got the opportunity to, and I was blessed to have the chance to. And I'll always be grateful for having a chance to do that. Listen, and I don't care what people say, because people are going to say good things and say bad things about you. But all I know is at the end of the day that I connected with the people and they connected with me, and it makes me feel good. Listen, you don't know what it's like when you go anywhere and somebody say, hey, Hillbilly, how you doing? I mean, I could go anywhere in America, even today, and somebody recognizes me and say, Hillbilly, what's going on? Man, and it's kind of like, wherever you go, you're home. If you're in Boulder, Colorado, Birmingham, Alabama, and all points in between. I mean, that ain't a bad thing. Now, and if you're a football player and you got a helmet on, they might not know what your face is. because they don't see you, because they don't see that number on you,
right.
unless you tell us, somebody tells you you're a football player. But with wrestlers, it's something about wrestlers, especially Jimmy Hart and I have said this many times, this group of wrestlers from the 80s, somehow or another, we got woven into the fabric of America. And we're still in there. I mean, we came along. I'd rather be lucky than good. Let me just put there.
Is there anything you want to say to your fans out there that you never had a chance to say until now?
Yeah, I want to say this to you. I appreciate you and I enjoy you so much. And I always try to have time to talk to you. And it doesn't ever bother me. If you ever see me, you're not bothering me. I've always got a few moments to speak and reflect. And by and large, most fans have always been wonderful to me. Now, you get a few that are zealous,
right,
and they're a little happy, and I understand that, because it takes a lot to go up to a guy and lay yourself out there and put yourself out there, because the guy could reject you. Then you feel like a schmuck, you know. But you know, but when they come up to me, it just does me good to hear people say, "Hillbilly, I remember you. Like you were talking about seeing me in a match somewhere early on many years ago," and I'm thinking, "That's good. I'm glad you remember that." If I could have brought a little, let me say this to the fans, if I could have brought a little bit of entertainment to you, a little bit of happiness to you, it was my pleasure. Thank you, because of you folks, you made Hillbilly Jim have a pretty good life, and I owe you.
TitleMatchNetwork.com